I know you guys.
You're the Chowder Rangers, aren't you?
Oh, you laugh. Well, probably not, but still, there are only so many unique themes a long-running franchise can do. We may one day yet see Power Rangers Chowder Force set exclusively in Rhode Island. But we're not seeing it in the 4th episode of Ozio. Okay, here we go. It's like I promised, a straight adaptation of an Ohranger episode. Now we can see what these shows are made of when doing the same thing. Kind of. Well, look, it's not one-to-one identical or anything. In fact, Zio zigs where Ohranger zags, but we're at least starting from the same basic premise here. There are plant monsters, there's stuff about eating metal, there's a focus on the blue-colored ranger. We have a real competition here, and I really want you to let me know which of these episodes you think should win. Tell me why. You're about to see my best case for which is better, but I want to see yours too. That these episodes focus on blue is exciting for me. Remember in Mighty Morphin Zyurangers how I used different colored variants of my opening sequence depending on which character was being focused on? My first video was red because it's kind of the default. The second video was yellow because of Trini's fear of heights. The third was pink because the girls go to a garbage dump. I don't think anyone's complained about it, but surely someone has wondered why I hadn't yet done that for Ozio. I'm only now getting to do that because it's taken this long for either show to give any focus to the other Rangers. I'm not necessarily saying this is a particular fault, particularly in the case of Power Ranger Zio. For one, the 3rd episode of Zio focuses on Tanya. We just haven't gotten to it yet. 2 of the episodes we've covered have focused on a character, Billy, but since he's no longer a ranger, he doesn't really have a color. And, Zyuranger opened with a lot of build-up and establishment before settling into character-specific episodes. This is the 5th episode of the series. This seems about the right time for the show to start focusing on characters. I can't wait to learn all these amazing things about Yuji, Blue, and Rocky. He's been around for a long time, so I know lots about him. I know that he exists.
Isn't that great?
Well, I guess we'll see how this goes. Baranoia creates 2 monsters this time around, Baracactus 1 and Baracactus 2. Their plan is to hit humans with their pollen, which brainwashes them into eating machinery. Eating the machinery allows them to absorb the powers of whatever they eat. Eventually, Baranoia will have a loyal army of Kirby soldiers. It's another creative Baranoia plan of conquering humanity and making it more like them, similar to their amoeba bugs last time. Ooh, say that 3 times fast. Amoeba bugs, amiga bubs? This evil plot intersects with the lives of 2 brothers, Takashi and Tsuyoshi. Takashi, the little brother, is dumb and constantly bullied, both by his peers and by his older brother, who only does it to toughen him up. Wow, I hate Tsuyoshi already! Takashi, however, gets his revenge when Baracactus pollinates him. He can now breathe fire on his enemies, outdo his teacher in math, and even hold his jerk-ass brother at gunpoint. Wow, what is it with this show and threatening realistic gun violence? Also, I think Takashi should have used the flame breath on the teacher, because his teacher is Sailor Mars. No, seriously. She's played by Tomizawa Michie, the voice actress for Hino Rei, or Sailor Mars, and the character is named Hino Sensei. Makes you think that they really should do a live-action Super Sentai version of Sailor Moon. It'd probably be the best thing ever. So we have the basic elements here. How does Power Rangers adapt these ideas? Well, perhaps it's a bit weird that a bunch of machines would make plant monsters. In Power Rangers Zio, Rocky makes the plants in his gardening class, and the Machine Empire steals the plants to turn into monsters. Why are they so interested in these plants? Well, because Rocky, without even realizing he did it, just by cross-pollinating some seeds he found in the school's regular stock, managed to grow a plant with a mouth that attacks humans and eats metal. And then Bulk and Skull steal part of it and grow another one. How? Usually if you want to make a plant this dangerous, it has to be a mean green mother from outer space. Here, a teenager can just bend over the laws of nature by accident. I don't hate this. It has the courage and audacity to take a premise that is slightly thematically questionable and run with it. Keep running until it's so far past the logic horizon, all you can do is laugh. Lord Zed used to use objects the Power Rangers owned as inspiration and a base in order to make a monster. Here, the Power Rangers are just making monsters for them. I love it. Amid all that jocularity, you might have noticed another big reversal here. Power Rangers takes the concept of eating metal away from the people and puts it on the monsters. It's the monsters who eat metal, and it causes them to get bigger and stronger. In Ohranger, the heroes and villains fight in a car junkyard. There's no particular reason for them to do that, it's just a location. In Power Rangers Zeo, the villains are there to eat the cars. I think that's a creative way to add more depth to a scene. Unfortunately, they can only take this premise so far based on the footage they have. We never actually see the monsters eat anything beyond their initial puppet phase because the Ohranger villains don't do that. That makes the stuff with the puppet plants among the American episode's most visually interesting work. But that doesn't really hold a candle to the stuff they lose by not having people eat crazy stuff and absorb the powers. Ultimately, there's an implied threat of metallic danger that never really goes anywhere because it can't. One of my favorite production tricks of Power Rangers is what I call reverse angle syndrome. It's where the Sentai is filmed characters in a shot-reverse shot pattern, which makes it easy for Power Rangers to just swap out one half of the scene with original footage while still keeping the other half. That happens a lot in this episode. The first example is when Prince Sprocket tries to steal the plants only to be caught by Rocky and Adam. See, that was originally a scene where Yuji stumbles into everyday people eating fire extinguishers and Bulldaunt arrives to gloat at him. It's easy for Power Rangers to use these shots. All they have to do is swap out Yuji for Rocky and Adam. A big tell is the different quality between Ohranger's film and Power Rangers Zeo's video. And once you spot it, it becomes one of those mildly humorous staging quirks where you know that Steve Cardenas and Johnny Young Bosch aren't actually talking to this costumed villain. Nobody's there, they're just pretending, and the editors are going to put it all together to make a convincing product. That's why I like doing these videos, to analyze the filmmaking of it. It's a simple and effective trick. Or rather, it would be a simple and effective trick if not for the fact that Power Rangers totally screws this up. I gotta get film nerd on you for a minute. This shot composition here breaks the 180-degree rule. See, when you film shot reverse shot like this, the rule is that the camera stays on one side of a 180-degree line, no matter which actor's side you're filming. If you cross the imaginary line for only one side, the shots look weird. Specifically, the eye lines of the performers don't match. See, in Ohranger, the camera is set on Yuji's right and Bulldaunt's left. Both camera positions are on the same side of this line. When you edit those two shots together, both characters end up looking in the same direction, at each other. But in Power Rangers Zeo, they mess this up and film Rocky and Adam from their left, looking to their right. Because of that, the American characters and the Japanese character end up looking in opposite directions. That's what makes it glaringly obvious that Rocky and Adam aren't talking to anybody. See, See, even if you know Power Rangers is made by cobbling together unrelated footage, you can still buy into the illusion because your brain automatically processes the cinematic language. But when that language is broken, even if you don't understand why, you look at this and go, it really doesn't seem like they're in the same place. Compare that to this scene where they replace Japanese footage of Oh Blue with American footage of Ohranger 3. This works because they film it right. The new Power Rangers footage is on the same side of the line as the Ohranger footage they're replacing. But why are they replacing this? This is a costume character after all. Well, obviously the kids have to go, so any shots they're present in have to be replaced. But it's also because the pollen is different and Rocky is now the one hit by it. I should mention he's the only person in the show ever hit by pollen. This is the only time pollen comes up. But hey, it's coming after a main character and not the kid of the week. That's gotta be important, right? Does the American pollen make Rocky eat metal? No, it turns him into a plant.
You're the Chowder Rangers, aren't you?
A really stupid plant.
You've got nice leaves. Your branches aren't bad either.
A really horny plant? Is this supposed to be a plant? I mean, he's green and covered with leaves, but I didn't realize that plants were dumb and horny. He's a himbo with a green thumb. Well, it doesn't really matter because this only lasts for about 3 minutes before it's undone, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm sure this was a fun enough sequence for Steve Cardenas to act, but it's not a fantastic showcase for Rocky. He's largely incidental, and this is really the only time he gets to do anything memorable. The episode doesn't indicate he has a particularly strong attachment to this plant or even to gardening. Frankly, Rocky always came across to me as, well, we need a new Red Ranger who doesn't threaten our attempts to shove Tommy into the leadership role, so let's just make him as bland as possible. Sorry, that's just how I feel, and this episode doesn't do too much to dissuade me. He's fine. At best, this is silly, fluffy fun, although the jokes are pretty bad. But don't think that Ohranger handles its blue guy any better. In fact, this is an episode I'll always remember watching for the first time because, as Ohranger's first real character-focused episode, it was the first to set off my alarm bells as to how this show writes to character. This is clearly a Kid of the Week plot, but it tries to tie Yuji into it beyond him simply being the adult in the room. That connection is that Yuji is an only child and envies the relationship between the brothers, volatile though it might be. The problem is that we don't ever really see this play out. We're just told. There's even a moment where Yuji flat out says, "I wish I had brothers like you." Yeah, thanks, I'm really sold on this concept because you said it. Yuji never meaningfully interacts with them. We don't learn about his own life or relationships that might indicate that he feels lonely or lacking. He just happens to wander into the right spot at the right time and does exactly what any other Ohranger would do in this situation. And that becomes incredibly clear once the show has the other characters try to ram this forced connection down our throats. Takashi has had a fun night of eating keyboards and stove burners, so he spends the next day doing complex math and trying to burn his classmates alive. When Tsuyoshi confronts his brother, Takashi shoves him so hard it launches him 10 feet into the air. Thankfully, Yuji is there to catch him and report what he saw to the other Ohrangers. But the other Ohrangers don't believe him. Why not? Well, because, and this is the first time this is ever brought up, Yuji is an only child, and he's romanticizing what having a brother is like, when in reality, brothers fight all the time. See, there is good dramatic potential in a character seeing something unbelievable and having to prove it to his disbelieving teammates. There is also good dramatic potential in a character being influenced by his own biases. But this is not any of that. We're just being told Yuji has biases, even though he hasn't acted a single time as though this is anything other than the run-of-the-mill fighting monster stuff we see every single week on this show. Yuji hasn't done anything that suggests his judgment has been impaired that would set a precedent for his teammates not believing him. He saw a civilian get infected by the enemy and begin to act threateningly. That was literally the plot of the previous episode. Maybe we should take him seriously. Instead, everyone is just, oh, boys will be boys. Boys just do boy things like set each other on fire and throw each other around with superhuman strength that requires complex stunt wire work. That's just what boys do. This does not establish to me that Yuji really wants a brother. It establishes to me that the other Ohrangers are too stupid to be allowed to keep their jobs. The most interesting aspect of the Ohranger episode and where it really gets to shine is its villains, Baracactus 1 and Baracactus 2. There's originally just one, but Baranoia builds another. For no real reason. Well, it's so the plot will work. At first they don't get along, but then 1 watches the brothers and realizes that 2 is his little brother, and he needs to look out for him. Oh wow, that's where all the character writing went. It's not much of a motivation, but it's something. Bacchus Hoon does not approve of them emulating these human emotions, but decides to manipulate those emotions by holding 2 captive so 1 will do his damn job. So we move ahead a bit. Takashi has a gun for a hand, we get to watch a gun pointed at a child, ground is stood, tears are shed, the brothers make up. I can't imagine how painful the next few days will be for Takashi as he digests all the things he ate. He's probably going to die, honestly. But before he has to deal with that, they team up with Yuji to impale Baracactus 1 on Goro's sword. Then the team finishes him off with their guns, and Shohei volunteers to be Yuji's big brother because that manufactured narrative thread really needed to be resolved. That's the happy ending. Want to see the sad ending? Turns out that Baracactus 1 survived and returns to the Baranoia base, only to find that Bacchus Hoon has strung up and killed Baracactus 2 as punishment for their human emotions. Jeez, this is gruesome. As Baracactus 1 mourns his dead brother, Bacchus Hoon shoots him in the back, exploding him into pieces. And just for good measure, he steps on and crushes his head. Holy moly, this is brutal. I think we could have used some more time with the monsters to buy this development. I've seen other Sentai episodes do sympathetic monsters better. But this definitely impresses on us the fundamental difference between the machine villains and humanity. More to our purposes, what does this mean for Power Rangers? Torture, murder, desecration? I can't imagine why Power Rangers wouldn't just port this over as is. Well, obviously they don't. And what does that leave them with to end the episode? I don't know if you'd believe me if I told you. First off, the villains, called Pollinators, are reconstituted into parodies of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone.
You're too early! I say we're just in time! Let's get 'em, y'all!
The brother loyalty angle is dropped, although they are said to be cousins because why not? Since the kids in the scrapyard are cut out, King Mondo recalls the monsters because they're fighting. Since they can't get along, he decides to separate them, resulting in this moment. Really? A Rocky reference? As if this episode has anything to do with Rocky. King Mondo decides that the Stallone Pollinator can go back out and fight, while the Schwarzenegger one stays behind. Well, you know we're in trouble now. The last time Stallone took a role from Schwarzenegger, we ended up with Stopper My Mom Will Shoot. As I said, Rocky gets turned into a plant for 3 minutes. Despite his only 2 character traits at this point being stupid and horny, he somehow outsmarts the genius mentor, the high-tech robot, and probably Billy if he was in this episode, instead of still on Aquitar at this point in the series. Rocky tells them that the answer is oxygen. Since plants breathe carbon dioxide and expel oxygen as waste, Exposing him to oxygen will bring him back to normal. And if exposure to oxygen is effective, how about we make it into a gun? Yeah, because the script says so, suddenly the Power Rangers blasters are oxygen blasters, despite looking exactly the same as they always have. They might as well be saying they're shooting fruit juice at it because fruit is the natural enemy of vegetables. It would match the footage just as well. An attempt was made. So, that's one villain down. What happens to the other pollinator? Well, I've forgotten he ever existed. How about you? Let's score these episodes. I'm not going to lie, this is going to be the easiest one we've done so far. For story, Ohranger delivers a nice parallel between two brothers and two monsters. In Power Rangers, the ending is a complete bust. Rocky becomes a weird plant for a few minutes, but then he gets better. The solution is such a mismatch with what we see that even a child wouldn't believe it. Ohranger wins. For characters, while Yuji's role is not good and the other Ohrangers continue to be blank slates, the same could be said for Power Rangers this time. All the other character elements from Ohranger far outstrip what Power Ranger Zeo attempts. Heck, the best character in the episode is the flower puppet. Ohranger wins. And for action, while Power Rangers creates its own costumed fight sequence, it's pretty generic. I miss the bits of all the people with their wacky powers. Ohranger wins, which marks the first clean sweep of the series. Well, that was fun. We laughed, we cried, we fertilized, we came, we saw, we pollinated. That sounds a lot more carnal than it did in my head. Anyway, you'll be excited to learn that next time the giant robots happen, so we can stop jumping around Power Rangers Zeo chronology, at least for a little bit. Everyone, please let me know which show you think should have won this time around. I'm going to try something new right now, and if you like it, maybe I'll keep doing it. I'm going to share and respond to a comment from last time where I talked about how the episodes I was comparing broke away from the standard formula. Today's viewer mail comes from Yosarian Van Driver, who says, first off, the production values on these videos are really nice. The music for each section has become kind of comforting in its familiarity. Well, thank you. I do think it's a good point that some people are extremely wired to enjoy endless spins on a formula, and some people aren't. I am curious, though, how this relates to your love of Sailor Moon. To my knowledge, the classic anime especially is quite long, and most of its episodes follow the same formula. Is it just the stronger character work that carries it along for you? Well, that's a great question, and it ties everything back to that Sailor Mars cameo. I think there are parts to my answer. Not that there aren't obvious fandom exceptions to this, but the Super Sentai Power Rangers viewership model, generally speaking, is rather built upon the expectation of kids jumping on and jumping off. You come into it at a certain age, you watch for a few years, and then you move on. And the show resets itself every year so new kids can easily take the place of the old kids who lose interest. That's partly why the shows have had such longevity, again, outside of the dedicated fan communities who stick around. Each of those individual series is its own year-long story, building character arcs and developing narratives within that year. Original MMPR didn't even have that. It never really felt like it was building towards anything specific, and I think that makes it easier to go, okay, I think I've gotten my fill. It's not that I'm against structure per se, but everything runs its course. So, bringing that around to Sailor Moon, that's a finite, cohesive story about the same group of characters. Once you're in, you want to see how it ends, and it's fully possible to do so. But yeah, I concede the formula of the 90s anime can get wearisome, and it can make it hard to remember individual episodes. But your example ties in perfectly because keep in mind that my favorite telling of Sailor Moon is the live-action series, which plays with that Monster of the Week formula for its first few episodes before pushing everything off the table and going, "You think you know Sailor Moon? Think again." After that, it goes hog wild and becomes a serialized ensemble character drama. And yeah, that's why I love it so much. Everything comes back around to live-action Sailor Moon. Thanks so much for your question. If you like this series, please engage with it. Please support the channel at patreon.com/MrFusion. Please share it with your friends. I can only keep doing this with your help. I'll see you next time.